Before I got my 18 years old, I wanted to marry, and it was not Didi. It was somebody else. And then my dad, he used a parable. He said, "Kwekwana nsina okwefu na okwefu mukushia efuno okushia no na yatona twina menem na ubi a wo twam no present kubi na firimu ubi am person na kwekusi musu kwa kuyi efuno huri so ne ko was what in the P and was things was to didn't cool for you born and money. And I'd say from here was doing sick room of food no be a castle so and another. We're going to wouldn't walk off away from what happens with the chrono. I thought through the story for 2 years. I never brought back that subject in his presence. Wouldn't walk off away from what happens with the chrono.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to another exciting episode of Gen Z Diaries. We're doing a special series titled Things I Wish I Knew Before I Turned 30. And today on our show, we have a very special guest. Our next guest actually needs no introduction. He's a preacher, pastor, evangelist, prophet, and as such, Okanyamea Drinchero. So today on Gen Z Diaries, we have Prophet Dr. Kofi Oduro. You're welcome.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so very much for the privilege.
You're welcome. I'm very happy. It's a day I've been looking forward to, and finally.
It's a joy for me.
So today we'll quickly get into it. Now, I earlier talked about the fact that he's a preacher, teacher, evangelist. He wears a lot of caps. And today we are coming for one specific cap. There's something you might not know. We have a mutual friend where because of him, I've watched a lot of your messages.
Wow. And
in one particular message, during the editing, you made a very profound statement. You said, "Oh, sorry, I will say, upe futu unti uti adadem." And what kind of proverb, Siri? So today we are coming to him for his wisdom cap. We are going to be talking about things that we need the wisdom of such a man for. So let's get into it. Like I said, my very first question, things I wish I knew before I was 30. Now, I'm a young man growing up. I've reached the stage where possibly I'm in the university. Throughout my life, I have listened to my parents. I've listened to their advice concerning certain things. But then I'm a big man now. To what extent do I still listen to my parents?
That's a very interesting question. In the first place, let me say a big thank you for the opportunity and to thank our audience for gathering for this particular episode. Now, maybe let me begin the answering of your question with a recent survey we conducted showed that there are 19 Ghanaian young men who became billionaires.
Wow.
Before the age of 30.
Wow.
Billionaires. I'm not talking about millionaires. Billionaires, and I'm not talking about cedi. I'm talking about dollar, euro, pound. Billionaires.
At this point, I'm paying more attention.
Yeah. Who became billionaires before 30.
Okay.
But by age 35, 19 of them has lost their wealth.
Wow.
So 6 years of becoming a billionaire, 6 years after becoming a billionaire, they lost everything to the point that I have one of them serving a jail sentence of almost over 10 years. Now, that alone is a rude awakening. Possibly it becomes a panoramic view to the question that you ask. Now, parents are guides. They are instructors and they are tutors to destiny. And so, if you are born to, and parents are in categories in terms of knowledge. Those in the category of sense knowledge, those in the category of experiential knowledge, those in the category of cognitive knowledge, and those in the what we call revelational knowledge. So depending on the category where your parents fall, now the question is to what extent do I stop listening to? It depends. It depends on the category of knowledge your parents belong to.
Okay, not to cut you short, but then some of our audience might not, if there's a way you could break down the categories. You've talked about experiential, revelational. So if we could break down a bit about each of it.
Sense knowledge is what we will call in our language Ephesians.
Yes, sir.
There are parents who have never been to school. There are parents who don't have a formal cognitive education. Yet they are experienced with certain things because of what they have been through.
Yes, sir.
Now, those people become guides to you. When they speak, listen. Now, the question is to what extent
Yes, sir.
and at which point. Now, before I do that, let me clarify all the 4 different kinds of knowledge. So, experiential knowledge, cognitive knowledge. There are academically inclined parents, doctors, judges, ministers of state, pastors, educationists. There are parents who are in that category. Now, the point is this: if your parents are in a particular sphere, then you cannot easily throw their knowledge into the bin, especially when they sit in a particular affluent seat or sit in a particular position where their knowledge continues to evolve. You cannot just throw their stuff away. Now, the next thing is when we have what we call inherent knowledge. There are certain knowledge that before you were born, it was in you. Yeah, and many parents fall into that category. Their knowledge is inherent. And so when you are dealing with those parents, then you should be able to filter, censor, because their knowledge is limited to the evolution of time. Now, the last category is revelation knowledge. Now, you have certain parents who are deeply spiritually inclined, intuitively inclined. They carry anointing, they carry unction, they are directed spiritually or intuitively. Those people, you cannot throw their knowledge into the bin, especially, when I know an old woman who can shake your hands and can tell that you are 2 months pregnant.
Even beyond doctors and scans.
Because she can feel the heartbeat of 2 people.
Wow.
2 months.
Wow.
2 months. And this is beyond no scans, no ultrasound, no test, no blood, whatever. She can look in your eyes and say, you are pregnant.
Wow.
So with that kind of intuition, you can't joke with somebody like that. So the point now then, to which extent, so it will depend. You are going to put your parents in any of these categories, then could determine, the elasticity trend of my parents and their knowledge, how I evaluate and all that. Yeah.
So that would suggest, dependent on what category they fall in, you take advice, let's say, what I need is something experiential or is cognitive, dependent on where they fall.
Then you can be able to, derive in that particular direction.
It's easier to understand. Yeah. So then you talked about evolution, as in their knowledge is evolving. That brings me to my next question. Okay, in evolution, things are, in the past, I think 10 years, technology has just advanced, like it has light years ahead. So in bringing it to our topic, now, I have parents who are, though they are evolving, some of their ideas might be outmoded. I'll give you an example. Someone like my mom, not to badmouth or anything. Someone like my mom, if you come, let's say the whole day you've been going about your business, and then you come and you say, my tooth aches. The first thing she will tell you is, hey, your phone now. My head aches is the phone. Who's your phone is so? Now, down the line later, I realized that there was even something called blue light or this light that you have to turn off, because if you look at the screen for too long, it might have damage or it might have an effect.
Radiation effect also.
Yes. So then the question is, when they say things that you know are not true because maybe they are living in the past, or to what extent do you still listen to such people? Is it still based on the categories, or you pick as and when now, dependent on what she's saying?
All right. Now, our elders will say, what an elder sees and loves, a child can never see and cry. So then, the elder sees something oftentimes that are deeper and that are integral. But the point is, knowledge evolves. Now we are not in just a digitalized dispensation. We have gone into artificial intelligence where, somebody can just mention just my name, and then just my name will bring my voice, and my voice will do stuff. It can make me dance, it can make my image laugh, it can make my image dance. Whilst I have never done that, technology is doing all that. And so sometimes their knowledge is outdated, outmoded, and all that as related to the subject matter. And so then we are going to censor and filter what they say as related to the subject matter. Then we can determine, because knowledge is evolving. What they knew, in certain instances, they may give counsel and they are wrong.
Yes.
They will also give counsel at certain times and they are right. And so then we need to filter. As Christians, then you need to discern.
Yes. Yes, sir.
To be able to know which counselor. There's an interesting, when Jethro gave Moses counsel, he said to Moses, and Jethro's counsel up till now is what runs the world.
Yes. In senior high school, the first business management, that was the introduction.
Yeah.
He told us how he grouped them. That was the introduction.
Delegation, task, even SWOT analysis. It's all Jethro. Our parliamentary system, our judicial system, our executive, it all runs through the Jethro structure. So then, but he said something when he gave the counsel. He said, I'm going to give you counsel, and if God permits you, then take the counsel. Wow. So he was not even imposing the counsel on him. If God permits you, that means that counsel can be given, but it needs to be censored. Parents can give advice. They don't force you to take the advice. Yeah. If you want to learn the hard way, you can choose to learn the hard way. Yes. They just advise you and then leave you. Then you make the choice for yourself. So the time for censoring, filtering, and discerning, it's important.
I've taken something from that because I've always felt you analyze that as if it's good for you. I've never thought about weighing it through the lens of discernment. What is God saying about that? That brings me to my final question. And I want to know, okay, so I've done that, I've weighed it, and I've realized that, okay, this particular one won't help. But then maybe I have a dad or mom who you don't say no to them. How do I go about informing them? Or do I just let it slide? It's like, when I leave the house, I know I won't do it. But how do I go about telling them I might still do the other thing I had initially planned to?
Let me give you a personal experience. And I got married very early. Myself and my daddy, we got married at the age of 22.
Wow.
22, we were both married. 23 years, we had our first child. Now, before I got my 18 years old, I wanted to marry. My father came to my house with my mom, and they wanted to give counsel as to, and it was not Didi, it was somebody else I had presented. And then my dad, when they came over, sat, and we were talking, he used a parable. Maybe a Kwekwanansi story. That was, he said, Kwekwanansi na okwefu. Na okwefu mukushia efu. Efu no okushia no na yatona twina menem. Na ubi a wuche mu no wo present ubi na frimo. Ubi ampeso na kwekusi mu so kwa kuyi efu na efu no huri so ne kon. Was what didn't pee and was wincy. Why you be was wincy? Wa bro no atian was wincy. To didn't go if you go born an amania. And I'd say from here was wincy. Krumo of win no be a castle was wincy. And another we're going to walk off away from Pakwampes with the chrono. So that was my dad's counsel. It was just a story because he knew that I was a student of language. I understood, language so well, and I also understood parenthetical, language or idiomatic expression. So he just threw a story and then he left. Now, I thought through the story for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought through the story for 2 years. I never brought back that subject in his presence. So, there are certain decisions that come in the lives of young people. Like I told you, I got married very early. Now, there are times that you present a candidate for marriage to your parents and they say no. And they say no on some very trivial, frivolous reasons. Why? I don't like people with tribal marks. I don't like people with from this tribe or from that tribe. And I feel that these are trivial, so trivial. I remember counseling a young lady. They were deeply in love. They formed a great match. They had prayed. They were convinced. But the mother didn't like a particular tribe. And they went on and on and on until they disintegrated both of them. Yeah. And so sometimes the reasons are frivolous. So somebody is watching us, they are in a situation like that. You are deeply in love. You feel this is the right person. You want to get along with it. What do? And your mom and dad are saying it otherwise and all stuff. So sometimes you are going to get, because our system runs in a way where we have certain structural system, what I call authority figures in our society who can be able to intervene or intercept and speak to your parents. They are pastors, they are heads of family, and so on. So if they give counsel and they are still trying to impose their counsel, sometimes I tell parents, I allow them to learn the hard way. Because I have learned the hard way. From 22 years, I've been married for 25 years. And so I've learned the hard way, So now I can boldly tell people, get married early, but not like between 20 and 26.
Okay.
No, at least 27 upwards, 28 upwards. Why? You have gained, you have a certain understanding to certain perspective of life.
And tolerance towards certain.
That medically, even the woman's pelvic bones have matured enough to be able to push out a baby and all stuff. So, and when we went through a financial turbulence, first 4 years, it was just a terrifying moment, So I thought to the day when we were celebrating our 25 years, I thought the first 4 years was needless. What we went through was needless. We should have waited. So now experience is talking to us. Yeah. Time is speaking to us. And so, especially in the field of relationship and all that, and all these young people, they are in love, they want to get married and all that. Life is interesting. It's not just about fun and feeling and all that. Responsibilities are going to step in and be staring in your faces. And after 3 years and all that, you will not even be thinking of kisses and all that. Yeah, so
Prophet Oduro has already introduced our next topic, relationships, but then that's all time would allow us today. Thank you very much for it.
God bless you. I'm so honored.
Thank you, sir. I promised you we were going to have a conversation based on his wisdom cap. He has said things that are so profound. He has talked a bit about science. He has talked about knowledge. So even I had limited the whole thing. This is a good time to like, subscribe and share, because we're only getting started. There's things I wish I knew before I was 30. Today I've realized that even when my parents talk, first of all, I have to listen because they have experience and other things more than me. But then after they talk, I have to also weigh it under the lens of God. What is God saying about what they said? How do I understand what they said? Also, we talked a bit about relationships. He gave his own ideas or his own experience, something his dad said, one hour kofa, the other, which is a story I'm taking to scare children. I'll sit down and tell them this story. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been another exciting episode of Gen Z Diaries. Things I wish I knew before I was 30. Catch you same time on the next episode. Bye.